In today's episode, let's talk about the big 3 C's that has to do with focusing our approach to organically ranking our sites online. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take a listen. Hey there, grab your coffee and let's talk business, how to grow it, how to sustain it, and how to harness the wonderful World Wide Web to do it. With me, your host, Jennifer Sikowski. Let's get started. Welcome to a brand new episode of Rainy Day Talks podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Sikowski. Today, let's talk a little bit about content. And if we took it a step farther, our focus. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but if you've been following along with us in our Facebook group and our weekly emails, we've really been focused on SEO because we believe, especially organically, it's important to have a plan to track, to measure, then to recalibrate and continue to push out fresh content. Now, we believe, and it is our opinion, that content is king. So if you're wanting to rank, you need to produce content. Now, we are not an expert in ads and PPC, but let me tell you, we can get sites to organically rank by on-site SEO tactics. We do all kinds of like nitty-gritty stuff within the site, but we also get really laser focused with our content. And I want to challenge you today, this real quick episode, but how to think through your content. So the number one thing that I want you to know and the takeaway from today is that do not confuse your audience. Did you know that there was such a thing? And what do I mean by that? So if you, especially if you're one that has a business and you're posting on social media, you're publishing content on your site, maybe you have some emails that are going out through, so your list, and you're trying all kinds of different tactics, right? And you're pushing all this content out and you're trying to stay in front of your audience. I want to challenge you to focus your approach. Focus the themes on which you are producing your content. And I would challenge you not to throw out some rogue content. Now, what do I mean by that? That means don't be just throwing up content just to throw up content. Have a point into your posting strategy. So the 3 C's that I want you to remember to keep you focused and not to confuse your audience is consistency, clarity, and content. Those 3 go together. We want to be crystal clear about who we are, our audience, and why we are publishing this content. We want to push content, and we want to be consistent with all the above. Because I want to make sure that I'm giving the right signals out of my site for Google to say, oh, by the way, this is relevant information to search queries that are coming up. This site is producing fresh content that is helpful for people who are asking for X, Y, and Z keyword. So the number one thing that you need to do is to define who your audience is. What problems are you solving? And what are you selling? So if you know your audience, you know your problems that you're solving, then what the heck are you selling them? And then I want you to get super, super helpful. Because the more helpful you are to your audience, the more they're going to like, love, and trust you. If you want a super helpful nugget, then your content, there's a couple of different strategies. One is that you really need to produce regular, fresh content on your site. You want it to be consistent with your brand and your messaging, super helpful for your audience. But I'm going to tell you this, sometimes those pillar posts ain't nobody going to read. Like, we like to think that people are going to take the time and read it, but that's why we put those H1, H2 tags. And that's why we break it up and make a list, because the normal person won't read a 3,000 post article on our site, Pillar Post. What they'll do is that they'll skim and then they'll pull out what's helpful and then they'll take that and go. But the thing is that those pillar posts that are not great to read, they're usually packed with all kind of good content. The kind of content that when Google looks through and they crawl content on your site, that they are able to grab onto. So sometimes, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Sometimes we are writing to Google. Like, we really, really need to remember and focus on the end user and our audience. But sometimes, if we're getting started and there's no content on the site, we're either going to have to post a lot, or we can plug in those really rich keyword focused blogs. We call them pillar posts. So that's like a part B of this talk today. Is I really want you to be focused. I really want you to think through what you're posting and prioritize, like, is this really relevant? Is this really helpful? Am I being clear on who we are? Am I being consistent with my content? Like, I want you to focus on that. But also don't forget that pillar posts matter, and sometimes we're writing to Google. I said it. So that is my challenge today, is to get crystal clear. No more just throwing up content just to get content up. I want you to think through. I want you to plan out some posts. Even if you plan out tomorrow's post today, that's a start. Because the more that you can get focused and prioritize your content, the more engagement you will have. That's all I have for you today. I hope that this is helpful. And if it is, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, like our posts, and tag me, Jen Sikowski, here at Rainy Day Design. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to Rainy Day Talks podcast. If you found this helpful, please do us a favor and subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on YouTube. Like and share this post. You can do that by just taking a screenshot and tagging us at #RainyDayTalks. Thank you so much. And a huge shout out to Mark Levander Productions on helping put all of this together so that way we can produce these awesome podcasts. Find him at mark@marklevanderproductions.com.